Welcome home. Ron Helmick.
Yes, sir.
Seeing Paranormal.
How you doing?
Welcome. Good to see you.
Thank you for having me.
Been a little while. Just a little while.
Yeah.
Let's talk about spirits. That's why we're here, after all.
Yeah. This is definitely the spot, too.
Cool. Well, let's kick this off the right way. A little cheers, a little red bush.
That's right.
Speaking of spirits. So your last investigation here with RPI was a few months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And any prominent points that we should talk about?
We went over some of the areas where we were at before, second floor, in the third floor area, and we noticed some changes in the air, as far as some areas were colder than others, and where we started talking about certain things. We also noticed like some of the equipment we use, like K2 meter, that what we were actually right here, that measures electromagnetic fields, and it would automatically go into the red when we tell it to go red, or it would back off and go to nothing. So it was in direct communication with what we were doing. So it was very interesting.
In many ways, that works the same as our divining rods, right? So there's a magnetic attachment that takes place between the rods.
Yes.
The same thing with your meter.
Yes, it said that spirits use EMF, electromagnetic fields, to communicate with us. So it's kind of basically like an amp to power them up. So
Cool.
I'll say. But between upstairs and then also the downstairs, we always get activity in the basement and in the cellar, especially in the area where it's said that bodies are buried in the basement area. I know there's been an occasion we were here before that we were actually able to, with some of the devices we use, we're able to reach out and communicate with whatever that was underneath the floor, and it was disembodied movements.
I was downstairs one time.
You were with me, actually.
You had that camera.
Yes.
That was the craziest thing I've ever seen.
Yeah.
Where you've got this disembodied body, the skeleton, reaching through the floor.
I had my arm out.
Like grabbing for us.
Yeah.
I think I just talked about moments before that, how the guides have been saying that it feels to many people like we're being sucked down.
Yes.
I tell that story. You've got this on, and like something is reaching up to grab you. It was unnerving in so many ways.
Yeah, the chills just ran right up in your back of your neck. It was the craziest thing I've ever felt. It was insane, and it's funny because there's a big shift from when you walk down the stairs to when you go to that back part. There's a big shift between the two areas.
Different phases, the temperature,
totally.
The gradient can be like 40 degrees sometimes. We measure that. It's nuts in the span of literally like a 3-foot threshold, and there you are. What is that?
Well, a lot of times that could be dimensions. It could be portals. It could be also just spirits in the area that maybe are all together, and you walk between that, like you said, a threshold. So
there was a time about, maybe now 5 or 6 years ago, that we had a reporter here from Denver, Colorado. He was with Fox News, and the Convention Bureau had brought him here, and he intended to spend like an hour at most here. He's got his toys with him as well, but he's downstairs, and within a few minutes of being all the way in the back of the cellar, he captures this image of a Confederate soldier in full Army gear, regalia, and then using both divining rods and other tools that he had, probably just like this one, he's able to communicate with this, and they're able to ascertain that this guy's name is O'Connor, that other psychics and spirits have talked about, or spiritual readers have talked about in the past. So O'Connor was an Irishman from the 3rd Ward, and yet here he is in full Confederate regalia fighting for the side of the South. And that's the first time I've heard about that, so that forced me to go back to the library and research this. And it turns out that there were a lot of people that were Irishmen from the North that fought for the South. Social economics concerned that, once abolitionists had their way and everything is open, that they, again, the Irish, should be on the bottom of the ladder, as opposed to, in their mind, they should have escalated up because they've been free since they got here. So it's interesting how we're able to dovetail the historical portion along with the things that, via modern science, if you will, are able to use as well. It's so
totally.
Cool.
Totally, and it's getting better and better every year. I know there's a time when we walked across the street, we were on our way in here, but it was during the day, and we actually saw a woman in a white dress on the 2nd floor twirling in the window. And we actually tried to debunk it. We tried to look across the street, but it's a cement wall. You can't, there's nothing to reflect off of. So obviously it was a spirit of some kind. No, I wasn't the only one that saw it. So,
Well, speaking about the outside, maybe 10 years ago or so now, we had a message on our recorder. Back in the old days when your phone would do that or whatever. And here's a guy who says he's a longtime resident of the Walker's Point area, and he says every day I walk past Shakers, he says, and a few years ago I stopped walking in front of the building because all of these phantasms are coming through the front windows. And he says, I now stop across the street and I count dozens, even hundreds of these different spirits, as he talked about, coming through the front window. Unfortunately, he never left his name or for a callback number or anything else. I would love to talk to that guy. But we've heard other people talk about the same phenomena, or walking their dogs outside and the dog's thing like lurches up, and the dog doesn't want to go any further. So then people, either pull the dog or else they walk around on the opposite side of the street.
yeah, our medium said the same thing when he first came here, Michael. He said that he just feels the energy just coming out of his. It's a crazy feeling, I guess.
There was 1 year that we had this real quirky thing taking place. We've got iron stanchions in the front of the building that, the way they constructed buildings in 1894 incredibly well, but they had these iron posts that carried the weight of the successive floors. And during one summer, to span 3 months, if you were to make contact with one of these round posts on the side of the front doorway as you're walking in, and if you're barefoot, or you had like thin thongs or something on, you would get electric shock. And it was every single time. And it wasn't just a little, it was like a real thing. But then after a couple of months, it went away. Now, we were doing a lot of remodeling taking place on the second floor. I can't associate this with anything. We had the city come down, we had the energies here, not a thing, right? Mm-hmm. But if you do this, you get zapped pretty healthily.
Well, I think there's something that needs to be known here, is that there's such thing as residual energy, and anything here is recorded history. It has taken in history from this place, and residual energy is nothing more than things that have taken place, and it happens over and over and over again. And with all the spirits that are coming in and out of here, and what you were saying before about what the medium told you and what our medium said, that could be generated from that. So, especially considering that they use EMF field. So that's basically what that could be.
Nice. Well, obviously, we're doing a lot of work during the little mandatory shutdown that we have taking place the last month or so. So we began with the ladies' room, the lair of Elizabeth,
yes.
that lovely little 8-year-old girl.
Yes.
She's still there. But we took out the floor, took out the subfloor, took out all the tile. Greg Ray as a company did a phenomenal job restoring that entire area for us, and then repainted the walls. We've got some new lighting coming in to highlight the beautiful period piece mosaics and detail work that's on the doors of the ladies' room as well. So Elizabeth is still there. And I know that because I'm here virtually every day doing other things. I hear things back there. There's nobody else in the house at that time. And I'm really tempted in a way to get her something to play with. So we're moving the pianos around as well. And I think before we're open again, I'm going to slide one back there, put it right by her door.
Oh, yeah.
And to see if that's going to play. Because back in the 80s, before we moved the baby grand piano up here, pretty much every night at 2 o'clock as a restocking, and we just want to get our butts out of here, you'd hear the piano play. And I always say it's not Gershwin, but you'd hear the piano play. It's plinking, plinking, plinking away. So to not lose staff because the servers just bolt out that door, you never see them again, we moved the piano in front, and that took care of that, because apparently she doesn't go past the archway, except for one time when 2 other psychics had me meet her in 1987, and they were able to coax her out. That was a cool story, by the way. I want to touch about that for a moment, because we're very busy Friday night. We're slammed. I'm in the kitchen cooking, and the staff says, you must come back and talk to these 2 women that are just standing. People are singing, and you've got someone's butt in your face, and these women are there. So I walk out of the kitchen as I'm walking up. I'm like 10 feet away, and I say, ladies, can I help you with something? I've never seen them before. And they said, as they put their arms together to form the circle, put your hand in here.
Wow.
Sure. So I put my hand inside the circle. It's like a blast freeze. I'm like, what the hell is this?
Yeah, right.
And they said, well, this is Elizabeth, the little girl from the ladies' room, able to coax her out to meet you. Well, hello, Elizabeth. Now, before that, for the first year that we're open, we've got people, and we're all corporate America for lunch at that time, right? So we've got women coming out of the restroom and saying, who's that little girl? And we'd say, there's no little girl. And so, yeah, we saw her shoes, saw her boots, whatever, and she sometimes knocks at the door, she sings, she hums, she does whatever, and there's no little girl here. I mean, just, have another martini kind of thing, because there's no one else here, right? And back there. So we've heard that for a year for the build-up. Then these two women are here on Friday night, and then here's my experience with this. In the meantime, we've had waitresses running out when, the piano's playing. So put all those things together, and again, I'm not sure how you substantiate these things. It's an unusual occurrence that I can't otherwise debunk.
Yeah, so. and I think another idea is maybe put a like one of those balls that you find at the grocery store or something, put that on the floor, level part of the floor, and put a camera next to it and see if it moves or not. So those are different tools that we use even, or baby powder on the floor area. Different parts of the floor, see if there's any footsteps that come through.
I had a...
That's old school.
I had another bar that was on the west side. It was an import bar. And those were, I was much younger, those were the drinking days. So, closing time is 3:30, and I take the staff out to breakfast in the morning.
Nice.
But first you might have been drinking for a while. So, we had all these little tables about this size, and they each had a candle on them, right? Kind of like that. But we also had a carpeted area, so we would every night take all the tables and chairs to one side, we'd vacuum, right, and then we go to breakfast. So I noticed one time that we would come back from breakfast, and there's a table back in the middle, and there's a candle that's on it. Everybody's with me, nobody's left. So this time, I had preemptively gone to the store ahead of time that nobody knew about. And I got myself 2 5-pound bags of sugar. And we all leave, and I say, I forgot something. I run back inside. There's 3 doors, and I'm sprinkling the sugar everywhere within like 10 feet of the doorway. So you couldn't jump over. You had a cape or not, you're not jumping over this. We go to breakfast. We're back. I'm the first guy back. I can't wait to get to that door, right? Unlock the door. I open it up. All my sugar is everywhere, right? And I look over there, and there's a table with a candle lit in the middle of the damn room, right? So I go to the other 2 doorways. Nothing has changed. Nobody knew I had this. This is so far back. This is the days before the 24-hour stores that you could go somewhere and just buy, sugar, flour, something else, right? So absolutely nobody could have gotten that. Nobody knew I was doing this. Not even my girlfriend at the time. So I don't know how you explain that either, because that's manipulation. That's moving something physical.
Oh, totally.
And lighting the candle.
Yeah. Well, that's just like the safe downstairs.
The safe.
Same idea. I mean, we've numerous times we've come to one investigation. It's one spot. Come back maybe a month or two. It's another spot, and that thing's almost impossible to move. I mean,
ways like you and I together, for God's sakes. Yeah. Though it's got wheels on, they're well rusted, corroded. They might move in one direction. But you look at the markings on the floor, and it's like it's animated. It's like it's dancing sometime. It's crazy.
Yeah.
And that white door right behind that. Now we had 3 other sightings come through a couple of months ago. I've lost track of time now with this pandemic, but a few months ago, and they're talking about how whatever is behind that door is a good spirit that just wants you to know that she's there. Well, that might be, but I know that the timing is unique in that the guys be downstairs talking about the safe or something else, and suddenly, or you hear the scratching, and I'm thinking it's almost like the fall of the house, the ushers kind of thing. If it's a good spirit, why is she scratching like that?
Yeah.
I don't know. But those doors are locked off, and we've gone in the back immediately, and the floodlights, and there's nothing there. So I can't get into how that happens either. But that's beyond just the sighting of the moth that we get. In fact, we shot a piece earlier today, and as we began this, and Patrick turns the cameras on, and we begin the interview, and suddenly I've got this moth that's just hovering all over me. I'm like,
a moth? It's this time of the year, huh?
Yeah, you'll see this in the playback. It's just like eerie.
Wow.
But often we have this white moth that's about 3 inches, 3 inches.
Nice size.
And it'll come to the main security cameras that we have here or downstairs, and it just flutters and it just sits there forever until the camera dies. The camera literally goes out. Or downstairs, you'll see it coming up by the camera. It's one of a few things we see on the camera downstairs. But it'll just flutter there, flutter there, flutter there, and then everything goes completely black. Not like the camera dies, but it's like everything is completely lights out black everywhere. So.
Wow, that's so interesting.
So when was your last gig here, and when's your next gig? Most importantly, when is your next gig
Hopefully soon. I mean, I know our team, and then also U.S. Paranormal, they're going to be working with us on that too. They have some extra toys too. They like to try out and see what works.
Great.
Communication. So it'd be nice because tackling all floors is a goal again to do. And I know when we were on this floor here, we got real high EMF readings. I mean, we were up in like 11 and 12, and actually I had to step outside of the building because it got so high. But it
what
was
I
interesting.
often get is that pressure in my chest, and it's not another heart attack. It's the pressure in my chest, and I know it's something trying to get my attention.
Yeah,
And
it's
when I'm-
like a pressing feeling.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, when I'm in the penthouse upstairs. Sometimes I try to sleep there once a month, and kind of stay connected. And sometimes you just have this massive pressure in your chest, like someone's sitting on your chest.
Mm-hmm.
It's the craziest thing.
Yeah.
So I hope you guys record when you're back doing that.
Oh yeah, yeah,
And
definitely.
I think you're in for quite the thing because we are making changes on every floor. Once at some point get back and look at the ladies' room with the new flooring, new everything else, and then upstairs the penthouse. We begin the demo next week. We're ripping everything out, rip out the jacuzzi, the tile floors, everything else. We're putting in this beautiful clawfoot tub, Kohler clawfoot tub
Beautiful.
that Greg Reyes found for us, and sink, impeccable condition. So we're putting in the clawfoot tub. We're retiling everything, period piece tile again, and the whole shtick. So I bet it's going to be very active up there once that's completed.
Oh yeah, or especially right now, I assume, because I mean, not all spirits like change. They're not used to that, you know.
No. So we're doing carry out only at Shakers right now. So Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. And last week it was either Friday or Saturday, and we're getting ready because we're 4 o'clock till 9 o'clock with this, and we're getting ready. And I'm upstairs, and I hear this crash, this massive crash of glass. It's like it's going on forever. And I come down the stairs, and our cook is here, and she's like now going to sweep up what literally have to be 20 or more of our pint glasses, the ghost pint glasses, that have not leapt off, but there's nobody else here. They have moved themselves off that part of the back bar. So some things might not be as happy, or they just want us to know that they're still here.
Mm-hmm.
But it's definitely been active every single day, whether we're down here working on something and you hear people walking upstairs. It's like there's a freaking army that's marching up there, you know?
Yep.
And I'm really looking forward to when we're actually open again and getting you guys to come back at L. But please bring all your toys with you because there's a lot going on.
Yeah, we find something new every time. I mean, it's because there's so many layers to this place. You know, that's the thing, and we'd like to really go in more deep with the Al Capone family and see what we can communicate with them in any ways.
That would be great.
And see what kind of evidence we can get off of that.
There's a couple mouthy people on Facebook I've noticed recently saying that Al Capone never had speakeasies in Wisconsin. Al Capone was never in Wisconsin. Well, wake up.
Getaway.
There's a whole historical record that is contrary to that.
Yeah.
And the people whose families were drivers or anything else that all have a history that's here.
Yeah.
So I really look forward to that part of the element as well and bringing out more of that. That'll be great.
Yes.
So, I'd love to talk about Shakers all day, and it's hard to get me to shut up sometimes, but
Sure.
RPI's got to be doing some other real kick-ass investigations somewhere.
Yeah. Recently we had 2 exorcisms. We actually work
Wow.
with exorcists. He's a Reverend Michael Schroeder. He was on a TV show, I Was Possessed, and we actually did a home exorcism, and then we also did one over Zoom because of the COVID-19 thing. And it actually, believe it or not, worked after a few different.
And we're 6 feet away, by the way. So.
Yeah, we're 6 feet away. So, yeah, that was very interesting. The last case we had was supposedly whatever this demon was scratching words on the back of his back, and that's when we called and asked for the Reverend to come in and assist with us. We do different things called passive provoking, and passive provoking is nothing more than walking around the house or building, read Bible scriptures, and then see if there's any response from the house or the individuals in the house. And then what we do after that is we have them read the scriptures to us. And if they fumble or whatnot, or we notice any change in behavior, then we have an idea that we have an issue and we need to go a step further with it. So we actually had a case where I actually had a crucifix in my back pocket because I was trying to carry the Bible and read, and it was actually moving in my back pocket. Jeff was behind me on camera, so he was following me, and not sure if we caught that part, but we caught the behavior of the person that we were trying to assist.
Wild.
So, yeah.
So this exorcism, I want to hear much more about the exorcism.
That particular one? Or just in general?
Just in general. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the one that we were talking about before was Jeff was behind me, and he was filming me. But I don't know if he caught my whole body up and down because I had the crucifix in my back pocket. I actually felt it move. The only reason why I had it in my back pocket was because I was holding the Bible, trying to read scriptures, following this woman out the door. She left the building, then she came back later on. Then we've also had numerous other cases where we actually had to remove the person from the home and meet them in a hotel to do the exorcism.
Wow.
There's some cases I was at, some cases I wasn't. But we've been working on demonic cases for the past couple years now. Just got a call from another one, actually Tuesday morning at 3:40 in the morning. I got a call, and that was a case where they're seeing little girls, a little girl that's running around the house. Now, most of the time, if they're full body apparitions, that means they're legit. If they're not, usually if they're like half body or whatnot, usually it could be a possible demonic, entity of some kind. Not always. Not always that's the case.
Well, my view on this is that essence precedes existence, and therefore, in my mind at least, essence succeeds existence. So, basic metaphysics, but I think that we as, particularly Americans, people overall, but especially Americans, are very arrogant about many things. We don't have the same belief system that other peoples do. And it's almost like if I can't see you and touch you, it doesn't exist. But I would tell you that from my first experience, I was 4 years old, and my grandfather had died. I've had a whole lot of experiences and other properties I've owned, other businesses I've had, and I've been around the world. And I've seen an awful lot of things. I make it a point not to research ahead of time. I find myself serendipity perhaps in different things, and things kind of attach themselves to me or make themselves available for me to see. There's a ton of it here. I would like to go with you if you don't mind sometime.
Sure.
Like one of your investigations. The exorcism, though, that's got to be just a whole different animal.
It is. It is because it's very draining. We had a case where you would be able to meet up with her sometime maybe. We actually had a case where we got a phone call and the woman was constantly being scratched even while I was talking to her. We actually got to the location, and as we walked in the door, she had 3 more scratches on her back. We then set up everything. Actually, they already had cameras because they were already interested in the paranormal, the husband. So we actually had cameras mounted in the house, so we basically used those to do our research. So we used EMF readers, we used all these different things, and a lot of times with demonic activity, you cannot pick up on anything. That's why we had the passive provoking Bible versus, good versus evil in that case. So what happens is what happened is that we weren't getting any readings, so I knew something was up. So my bag was here, and I said, "Do you have a Bible?" And she's like, "Yeah." I'm like, "Okay." So she grabs the Bible. So I start reading it, and she starts wigging out. She starts, getting really uncomfortable.
Are you reading Leviticus? What are you reading in the Bible? What passages?
Any.
Okay.
Any. I randomly pick one.
Old Testament?
It doesn't matter.
Okay.
Yeah. So I go through and start reading, and I start looking at her. I started acting like a little funny and started to get a little nervous. I said, "You okay?" She goes, "Yeah, I'm feeling a little irritated." I'm like, "Okay." So I go ahead and say, "Okay, now I want you to read." I fully know that she's capable of reading because she typed a long message to me, so she knows what she's talking about.
Sure.
So she starts reading out the Bible, and after that, she's telling me how much she hates me. She wants me out of the house, all these other things. So I took myself to the bathroom, locked myself in there. I called the Rev and said, "This is what's going on." But then after that, I actually took my crucifix and I put it on the table. So how do you feel about that? And then she got ticked off. So yeah, that was an interesting case that we had. The next morning, Sunday, we had the Reverend come in from Madison. He came in and did an exorcism on her, about 45 minutes, give or take, and was actually able to pull a demon name out and everything else. And that's very important when you're fighting the demonic entities.
So is there a structure in the hierarchy of demons, I suppose? And it's a minor demon to say.
Each demon has a name. Okay. Whether if they want to give you that name or not, it's tough. And that's where the whole biblical thing comes in or whatnot.
Sure, we get control at some point.
Exactly.
Okay.
And then also too, you have the of course the devil or the head demon, and then you also have the legion of demons, and then under that, then it's a whole spread of different demon names that they have and everything, and some can attach them for years, and I honestly think a lot of mental illness could be possibly from those types of things, and then also too a lot of illness, can be blamed on that. You know what I mean? They could be thinking they're possibly, have demonic attachments, and they really don't. And that's one thing we always, when we go into a home, we actually go into an interview process and make sure: are you on medication? Do you have any type of mental illness, or do you use any type of drugs or whatever else? We ask all these different things. Of course, it's confidential, but those are types of things we need to know what we're working with.
Of course. So, obviously we do the Cream City Cannibal Tour here, Jeffrey Dahmer, and I like to think that we have been incredibly meticulous on the research that we've done on this. In fact, I'm writing a book on this now. But I think that I would like very much to go and explore some of his old haunts, the things that we cover on our tour. But I'd like to take a little time and maybe film that as well.
Sure.
But bring some of your toys with. I'll bring some divining rods. And just to see if there's some latent energy from something else that's there, because the horrific things that took place with him. Mm-hmm. And we're not going to go to his apartment or former apartment complex, at least I don't think we will. I think there's enough that's just proximate to us where he hunted. But I really want to see if there's some association as the serial killer, because he grew up as a normal kid for a while, and then his life took a turn to the left, and it kept turning to the left further and further. And unfortunately, people exacerbated that and or assisted that. The judicial system, the law enforcement system, they could have stopped this much earlier, but it kept growing and growing. And I have to think, as I don't want to suggest for a moment that I'm an expert in your field, because I'm not, but I would suggest that there is that energy that's there, and I want to touch it. Mm-hmm. I don't want to embody it, I want to touch it. Just to see if are you game for that?
Sure,
absolutely.
Sure. Definitely. I mean, the perfect example for something holding energy is the Annabelle doll, the world famous Annabelle doll. That was captured by Lorraine Warren and her husband, and
she began in like late 50s, early 60s, didn't she?
Yeah, somewhere in that area. And actually, Tony Sparrow, which is actually I believe nephew of them, I personally know, he said that, or he's said in interviews on what this thing has to be gone through before it can be placed in transportation. Mm-hmm. They have to take almost a bath in holy water. They actually have to wear rubber gloves. They have to wear all these different types of garments or whatnot, and to transport to get the Annabelle doll to a show of any kind, because it'll attach itself to anybody. So, but that's another perfect example, And I believe Jeffrey Dahmer is probably lingering around somewhere and whatnot. It'd be interesting to make contact with him and find out what his thoughts are now, or whatnot. So, but again, that's another layer here. So he's been here.
Well, we've had Robert Patrick here a couple of times.
Yes.
Formerly of Terminator and
X-Files
and Sopranos and whatever else. And he's got his own views on this. In fact, every time he's here, he goes down to the cellar and he is adamant that Heath Ledger, who used to ride bikes with motorcycles,
the Joker,
with, is downstairs.
Yeah.
At least the times he visits. And I'm like, I'm always slayed at the people that other psychics come up with that are here on a repeat basis. Then other people, that's taking place here. So we even have a psychic right now who is adamant that Amy Winehouse visits here. We play a lot of Amy Winehouse here. The girls,
sure do.
Play a lot of
Yeah, good stuff.
And what a tragic story that is. Mm-hmm. But if we could somehow capture a portion of that, again, with your tools, that would be extraordinary.
Yeah, I'd love to have Robert Patrick come back and then with him do an investigation and have you guys film it. And
I'll see what I can work out. Obviously, this is going to be a really bizarre year for everybody
as
far as traveling goes.
And he owns his own business too.
He does that. So you had your meter on a moment.
Yeah.
Would you mind just leaving that up and plugged in and see what goes on?
Sure. It's in yellow, it's in yellow right now, so it's kind of like a halfway point there. But normally what we'd say is, if there's any spirits in here, can you make this flash? And not saying it always happens in the spot we're at, but there's always a possibility. Are there any spirits here with us right now? Like to talk to us? Can you make that light up? It's blinking.
As we leave that there just for a few minutes,
Sure.
I always say to people on the tour, there's no guarantee you're going to see something or interact with something. This
No.
is not a Disney ride that we do.
Exactly.
The tours at Shakers or anywhere else, they've got their own schedule, and if they choose to participate, you're fortunate, which they don't always do.
Mm-hmm.
We have a disproportionate number of people that have been touched here, that have seen all sorts of things here, and I don't just mean the dust particle things. They've seen all sorts of things.
Yeah.
The experiences of those people who attempt to spend the night in the penthouse, that's extraordinary. And you've had a few of those stories yourself, haven't you?
Oh yeah. Actually, two of the investigators we have are both females. We had them lay in the one bedroom, and I sat in the chair that was there.
The dead hooker's bed.
Yep. And I sat in the chair, and we were just kind of listening to see what what was going on about
Sure.
2-3 in the morning. Well, I dozed off. I was tired. I just dozed off, and I don't remember doing this, but I actually got up off the chair, and you heard a voice telling me something about having to go talk to them, something. So I actually walked up, and I was like, okay. So I walked up to him and said, you gotta go. And then Diane, that was with us, she's like, well, why do I have to go? And she goes, no, you gotta go. You gotta go. So, and I ended up walking right back to the chair and went back to sleep. That morning I reviewed the video, and I saw myself do it, and I don't remember any of that whatsoever.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wasn't one of your party also found in like one of the closets up there, or the bathroom, or am I confusing stories here?
No, we've actually, one of the girls have actually laid in the bathtub before.
Okay.
And actually gotten like a chest feeling in their chest or whatnot, like a burning feeling. And we actually had two of our mediums actually sat in the third floor on the couch, and actually, see?
I see.
Look how bright that is.
Uh-huh.
They actually channeled. You here with us right now? You make it go to red? Careful, legs, batteries. Okay. All right, you let me know.
Thank you.
So, yeah. So it was on the third floor, and the two mediums were channeling each other. And one appeared to be the male that was maybe like a head guy of some kind. And then the woman was kind of like the head hooker, or, See? Every time I talk about this, it starts going off.
Yeah, we're told that the head bouncer guy was named Sam.
Yeah.
And of course, Molly Brennan was the well-known, most notorious of the A-girls, and
Yeah.
she had that space, and she was eventually murdered upstairs as well, back in the Capone days.
Mm.
That would be extraordinary if we have the opportunity to interact with them further. So,
Yeah.
again, maybe not today, but maybe in a future gig we'll go
Yes.
upstairs to the penthouse and do the podcast from there.
Well, when they were up there, this what's really weird is that we used a device called the SB7. It's called a spirit box. Basically, what this thing does is it's a classic radio that scans through frequencies nonstop. It doesn't stop at a particular station,
Sure.
a radio station. What it said, if you ever seen the movie White Noise, it's the same idea. It basically scans through the frequencies, and spirits are able to speak in between the frequencies. We've made contact up there. They know who you are, actually. We've actually asked if they know who you are.
Sure.
And they've come through numerous times. That thing got so loud of interference, and it could be like EMF or whatnot, but actually Michael was able to snap his fingers, and the thing went cold dead.
Wow.
It's the craziest thing we've ever seen in our life. And I actually have video footage of that.
So Michael's a medium,
Yes.
and does he do something above and beyond that?
Yeah, he's a truck driver.
Okay, but I mean, he doesn't have the religious aspect that goes along with that.
He's a medium. He also an investigator. He helps us out. But he's in our job, or in our group. He's a medium. He's our lead medium.
Okay.
And I decided to do that because I wanted him to, because we have three other mediums that work with us. But it's kind of nice to have a head person as far as that, because I don't know what that's like to be him. So to have him do that, have him be in charge of that position, I feel better that way.
So we can link up, when we're done, we're ways away from that, but we can
Sure.
link you as well. We've seen Paranormal.
Oh,
this
yeah.
to get, okay. That's
Definitely.
fantastic.
Yeah.
So do you ever open this up to just civilians to come along with you as well, to
Um,
like a ride-along kind of thing?
Only private locations, no.
Okay.
I'm not comfortable with that because when we invite people over, they're excited to go, but the houses that we're going to, they may be scared to death.
Sure. Okay.
And out of respect to the client, we don't do that. Public locations, sure. Just the other day, we went to Helmick Malt Factory,
Yeah.
and the outside part, we were able to get all kinds of EMF readings. We actually had some. We were able to get them to communicate with us back and forth. We actually have an EMF reader that actually sets off an alarm. So we tell it to stop, it would stop. Tell it to go, it would go. So, and we had 3 of these set up, so they were able to go to each one and do their own thing. So.
I love that Helmick, the Helmick little malt things were fantastic. I grew up in that malt thing. It's great.
Yeah, it's a cool building. I'd love to have
Shame
it.
that Ambrosio's gone. I would have liked to have seen what was there
Yeah,
psychically as well before they ripped it down.
yeah,
Huh.
cool stuff.
Cool. So what's next? What's the next big investigation that you have coming up?
Well, our goal is to eventually get into, to come back here, definitely. But we'd love to get into some of the other locations too, in the area. And it's just a matter of building trust with the people that
Sure.
own the locations or whatnot, and let them know that we're not just there to goof off or whatever.
Sure.
We're there for serious business, and we want to also show findings of what we have, and that's one thing we're good at.
Have you done the sanitarium at the old county grounds?
No, I haven't.
Oh my gosh. We walked through there one time, and you could just walk in. I mean, you're maybe not supposed to, but just walk in. And I think it was the 4th or the 5th floor. We were just, hairs were standing up everywhere, both, at that time, my girlfriend and I, just absolutely crazy. And there's a staircase between the floors, and again, we're the only people apparently that are there. And this sudden cold that just pervasive, this almost like upstairs where you're not welcome here, get the hell out of here kind of thing. And we did.
Yeah.
Because we respect them as well. It's important that when you do investigations that you respect those entities, I think, that are there. Because you want to get a response, you want to get something.
Yeah.
To justify that they're there, but at the same token, that's their space.
Well, my own house is haunted, and I've learned to deal with those issues also. I actually have EVPs in my own house, and I was trying out a voice recorder. Is there anybody here? And they're like, yes. And it was an older gentleman, and I actually seen this older gentleman a few years back.
Sure.
Sitting in one of my chairs, and when I'm waking up, it was the craziest thing. But I tell them, okay, back off. I need my space, and they leave me alone. And I let them do their thing. I do my thing. That's it.
So it's interesting to me because when I've seen a lot of things, and sometimes they're white or they're shades of gray, and sometimes they're incredibly dark, like darker than dark.
Shadow people.
And sometimes I've seen literally, like my grandfather when he had passed was like this electric green kind of a thing. Mm-hmm. And I saw a bit of that in Europe as well, but mostly I don't see that. I just see the white, the monochromes, or the black. And I agree, the shadow people thing is interesting, and my view on that is that they are just entities that are moving through time and space. I don't think they care a whit about us. Time travelers, I'm not sure what that is, but there's something that's just there.
Yeah.
I don't think that's the paranormal thing per se.
I think, paranormal is a very vast,
Well-
very large, label, and UFOs and what all that's included in it. And I agree with you on that too. But I also have to add, I also believe that they're entities of some kind that have never manifested themselves into a body form, or never was able to have a body to be involved in or whatnot.
I'm glad you mentioned UFOs because it occurs to me as as WLIP, Dr. Special will tell you that I broke the story for the coronavirus
Sure
back
did.
in January the 2nd or 3rd or something.
Yep.
But I have noticed as I read incessantly that there is a dramatic uptick in the number of UFO sightings that I've seen around the world. And part of me says that, maybe that means that we as a species are done in this rock and it's time for the next inhabitants to come, and maybe that's what they are. Or maybe we're just, because of this really off-put sensation, and because nobody knows what the heck's going on, right? Mm-hmm. And we're all kind of akimbo, and we're relying perhaps less on being out in the world and maybe more insular in ourselves, that we're maybe more receptive to seeing things. but I think there's a correlation that's taking place
Oh,
with
yeah.
energy sources, however that works. What do you think?
I've been saying this for a while, and I think the whole coronavirus was nothing more than whatever the higher power is, put us in check and say, hey, you need to go back to basics again before you lose, And there's been sayings that, UFOs have been coming in is basically there to assist in those types of things. Not saying it's true or not, but it's a possibility. So I believe that the coronavirus basically put everybody back to basic again. And what I believe the higher power, or whatever your belief may be, I believe kind of put us back in check and back to basics and say, hey, listen, you need to step back a little bit here. And I believe there is a connection between what you're talking about and, whatnot. So, and I believe these UFOs travel dimensions. I believe they have those capabilities, and it's my belief on that. So.
I would not be surprised if we don't at some point realize that these UFOs are actually things that are ourselves coming from the future, Time Lords, or whatever you want to call it. But I think that there certainly is the possibility for us to be exploring our own planet and be coming back at some point. Probably as good the odds are that something else is coming to visit us.
Mm-hmm.
So, cool. What about the comets, meteorites, meteors, things of that nature, celestial things taking place right now?
It truly amazes me how we haven't been hit by anything. You know what I mean? Considering we don't even have the Space Force really up and operating yet. And I don't know what NASA does anymore. I mean, as far as that's concerned. But, the meteorites coming at us, we're going to get hit hard. I am not sure what's keeping us from having that happen. But once it does happen, it's not going to be a good thing. So,
Catastrophe. I agree.
Yeah. That's one thing I think as us as humans, we believe we can stop anything, and that's one thing we will not be able to stop one way or another. Not in this time, anyway. I believe.
Agreed. Well, we are resilient.
Yeah.
Just we don't necessarily have to go back the same way that we are now, but somehow, some way, chances are that we will continue on.
True.
All right. So we talked about the future things for RPI.
Mm-hmm.
Shakers obviously is always here. And we welcome not just the investigations from you, but from others as well. We want to get to the meat of the matter, as it were. But I am constantly amazed on virtually a daily basis of the things that we see, we experience, we hear, the stories from both the people that take the tours, our guides have phenomenal stories about things that take place here. We talked about the scratchings before. I've had a couple of occasions myself where things have taken place. Last summer upstairs we had not just the resident spirits, that are obviously always here, but it seems like every 3 or 4 months we have something come through that's not resident that maybe is, I don't want to say malicious, but maybe not as nice.
Mm-hmm.
And that's when I've gotten cut upstairs. I had a new silk shirt last year. I wore it the first time, and I had something upstairs that was bothering me, the guides. I walked up, and without being there for just a few short minutes, I feel this hot across my back, and the guide is saying, your shirt just got ripped open. So there's nothing by me. I'm not, by something that can rip it. I'm standing in free space. My shirt is now ripped in the back, and I'm scratched, and I'm bleeding. So they can be a little bit untoward sometimes. We use kosher salt. We use holy water. We've done Florida water. I'm not sure really what that's good for, but it smells nice. And again, evoking the Bible or different passages seems to make a big difference these things. So no matter what your belief system is, and everyone really does have some form of some belief about something, or belief about nothing perhaps,
Mm-hmm.
but I think that there are things that we, again, as people, and especially as Americans, don't necessarily want to confront, don't want to accept are there, but there are things that are in play and in motion beyond just what we can take and talk about how molecules come together or something else.
Mm-hmm.
So
totally. Yeah, I'm a firm believer in that too. I always look at religion like this, is I believe all religions are the same. They represent one higher power. And it's just kind of formed in a different way, for each person. That's my belief in that. So, I agree.
Solid. So if we come back and do this again, shall we begin in the cellar, or do you want to be in the penthouse? Where do you want to be?
I think a cellar would be really cool.
Okay.
Yeah, we can check that out. Bring some things in and see what we can do.
Nice. I've also noticed that sometimes if you have too many people doing an investigation, it clouds things.
Yeah.
Because you're not really sure of how things want to react as it is, let alone with these different personalities, these different molecular structures that take place with people.
Yeah.
So I think that the smaller the number really is the best number.
Yeah. Well, and the nice thing about this location is that you have all these different floors to work on, and to be able to have both U.S. Paranormal Research come in and us come in, it'll be nice because we can be separated and still not hear each other. But when we have some type of, if we have some spirit walking around, we can hear the spirit. That's what's really weird about this place. It's going to be a great time. So
well, Ross Allison as well has been here.
Oh,
He
yeah.
had some great experiences here.
Mm-hmm.
And I just cut into one of his podcasts the other day, and he's still talking about shakers. So
Great guy.
And this is a guy who's all over the world doing things. And when they filmed the ghost sex thing upstairs, and they've got all sorts of things taking place on the second floor. They had queued up on the second floor. All their equipment is there. They're working on the third floor. They come downstairs like, why is that there? Where's this? What happened over
What was
here?
the chairs? The chairs are moved in the
moving.
Dillinger room.
Yep.
Yeah.
So there's an essence that goes along with that as well. Again, whatever you talk about it as being, but there is an energy form that you will sense and feel. And maybe most people can't. I'm not quite sure why it works with some people, why others it doesn't. I've been highly receptive to different things, as quackery as that might sound. But you get a sensation, just like I always talk about coppers walking on a dark street. And you see people reaching their sidearm. They're not pointed out, but they have a sensation there's something there that means you harm. And just like women, all the time, you have to be careful where you are and what you're doing. They have to be really susceptible to different sensations always. Much more so than Wilmot's guys like we are.
Each part of upstairs is different. Each room. Now, I mean, I've been coming here for the past 5-6 years, and you just recently opened up the doctor room, the abortion room.
Yep.
That was a total different experience than everything else.
Yep.
That was very different.
And still is, by the way.
Yeah, it still is. And the evidence that we captured audio-wise was 10 times more than was on the other side of the wall. And you can actually feel a shift difference between the two rooms. You know, between the the Dillinger room right there? Yeah, Dillinger room and the back room. So, and that was basically an apartment, right?
Yep.
Okay, gotcha. Or designed to be an apartment. Gotcha. Interesting.
So, as an extraction of that, I'm thinking about, people out of work, obviously, the 8 million plus people in the hospitality industry. But then I'm thinking about, obviously, this was a brothel on the second and third floor. And as you travel to different countries and Europe, certainly you have brothels that are still in existence, right? Amsterdam or other places too.
Yeah.
And, I just have to wonder what the impact on their industry is. And in particular, because it's not just a matter where someone's serving drinks in a speakeasy kind of thing, but now you've got this very intimate one-on-one relationship with a client, a customer, right? So, they've got to have all sorts of their own stories. And I would like to just investigate the brothel at some point, and an active brothel as well, and talk to brothel workers, because I think they'd have to have tons of information. Just like when I was a guest of St. Luke's Hospital a year ago, and I was in for 5 days, and I had a little heart issue that I took care of. Great people there. But on each night that I'm there, and I got different nurses that would come and talk to me because there's really nothing else to do at midnight, right? And I don't sleep. That's part of the plan. They don't want you to sleep. And things would take place, and the nurse would say, "Did you see that?" And I would say, "Yes." And they'd say, "Aren't you concerned?" I said, "No, because this is what I do for a living, by the way."
Yeah.
And if there's going to be dead spirits or energy somewhere, it's going to be in a hospital, because a lot of people die. More people die for seeing doctors in hospitals than those that don't, frankly. And I think I'd like to do an investigation of that at some point as well, if we could ever get clearance to do that.
Yeah, that's tough. There's a St. Luke's, just by chance, in Racine, downtown area. That was one of the emergency rooms. Now you only have St. Mary's, but Jeff and our team has actually walked through there and gotten EPPs while he was on his way out the door. But we've tried to get into some of these locations, and we're continuing to try to. But it's just a matter of building trust with them. There's also some locations that don't want that label.
Right.
And I respect that.
Oh, Pfister Hotel.
Yeah, Pfister Hotel, perfect example. But everybody knows that the place is haunted.
Yep.
Even Major League Baseball players will tell you, basketball players, football players will tell you the same thing, that the place is haunted.
Even the ambassador. I mean, if you go there, and
That's interesting.
You sit at that bar and you ask questions. You get the stink eye. They want nothing to do with you. They can't wait till you're out the door.
Yeah.
And I would think that obviously this is something that really should be explored, expanded upon, and I can assure you that the ambassador needs the business anyway. So
Oh, yeah.
take advantage of the opportunity. It's like, we haven't made this up. We haven't made this into a ghost bar. It just it's there, and we couldn't help 30 some odd years ago to be aware of this, and it just gets stronger every time. And I honestly believe that the spirits like the attention that they get. They like the interaction, and maybe they become showmen over a period of time as well. But I think that we're cool doing this here, but that's not always the case, is it?
No, not always. And we've actually walked downtown Racine area, and with some of our devices, and especially SB7, ask questions, how are you, blah, blah, blah. Each store was different.
Sure.
Different vibe as we walked past. One told us to get out, leave, don't come back. We left. Again, it's, respect humans. You also respect the dead, too. So.
Excellent.
Yep.
I thoroughly enjoyed our talk, as
Yes.
I always do, and
Yes,
whether we're on WLIP together or we're here.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And I think we should continue the series, and we have more floors to do, and
Yeah.
especially with the new renovations and restorations taking place here. I think we should get you guys in as soon as you possibly can.
Definitely. I am
Cool.
so down. Thank you.
Ron, Racine Paranormal, my pleasure. Thank you very much for the opportunity.
Yes, sir.
I look forward to the next time.
Yes, thank you.
Cheers.
Cheers.